Welcome to my Chanel the World Coin. Today, videos is one you won't to miss. We're diving into the world of coins, top 1 shilling. So let's get it started. The 1962 1 shilling coin, a humble yet historically resonant artifact of mid-20th century British currency, occupies a unique place in the chronicles of numismatics, representing a bridge between the imperial coinage of the British Empire and the rapidly changing socio-political landscape of post-war Britain. Minted during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, this coin was part of a long lineage of shillings that dated back to the Tudor period, but by 1962, it was already entering the twilight of its existence, as the decimalization of British currency loomed on the horizon. Made from cupronickel, a corrosion-resistant alloy of copper and nickel that had replaced silver in British coinage starting from 1947. The 1962 shilling was both practical and economical, reflecting the austerity and economic recalibration of post-war Britain, which was still grappling with the financial aftermath of World War II and the loss of its global empire. Weighing approximately 5.65 grams and measuring 23.5 millimeters in diameter, the coin carried with it not only monetary value, but also historical symbolism and artistic craftsmanship. The obverse side of the coin bore the crowned portrait of a young Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Mary Gillick, a sculptor known for her classical and idealized approach. Her effigy of the Queen, wearing a laurel wreath rather than a crown, emphasized a more youthful and peaceful monarch, in contrast with the more imperial depictions favored in earlier generations. The surrounding legend on the obverse read, Elizabeth II de Gratia Regina Fd, an abbreviation of the Latin Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, a traditional formulation that emphasized the divine right and religious legitimacy of the sovereign. This version of the Queen's portrait was used from her accession in 1953 until 1968, making it emblematic of early Elizabethan coinage and instantly recognizable to collectors. On the reverse, the 1962 shilling showcased one of two national designs, a tradition established in 1937 under King George VI, where shillings were minted in both English and Scottish versions, each with distinctive heraldic imagery. The English version, which was more common, featured the three lions passant guardant of England beneath a Tudor-style crown, while the Scottish version bore a lion rampant within a double tressure flory-counterflory, surmounted by a crown. This dual design system was both a celebration of the United Kingdom's constituent nations and a subtle acknowledgement of the regional identities that coexisted within the Union. The reverse design of the English shilling was crafted by George Kruger Gray, one of the most prolific coin designers of his time, and his initials KG are subtly incorporated into the design. These reverse motifs were more than decorative. They were rich with historical resonance, invoking centuries of heraldic tradition and the legacy of medieval monarchy. The inscriptions 1 shilling and the date 1962 surrounded the central design, clearly denoting the denomination and year of issue in plain English, as was customary for coins of the period. By 1962, the shilling was still a critical part of everyday commerce in Britain, representing 1/20th of a pound sterling, or 12 old pence, in the complex pre-decimal system that dated back to the Middle Ages. Shillings were used for everything, from paying for a pint of beer to buying a loaf of bread, and their size and shape were familiar to generations of Britons. Yet beneath this familiarity, change was brewing. In the early 1960s, economic modernization and the drive for simplification led to increasing calls for the adoption of a decimal currency system. The shilling, which straddled both the old and new systems, it would later be equal to 5 new pence after decimalization in 1971, was at the heart of this transformation. The 1962 shilling, therefore, serves as a kind of numismatic time capsule, a tangible reminder of a moment just before radical change. It captures the optimism of the early Elizabethan era, the resilience of a country rebuilding itself, and the quiet dignity of a currency system that had served Britain for centuries but was nearing the end of its usefulness. From a collector's perspective, the 1962 1 shilling coin is relatively common, especially in circulated condition, as millions were struck by the royal mint during that year. However, uncirculated specimens, particularly those with proof-like qualities or from mint sets, hold greater value and are sought after for their pristine state and historical context. While not rare, the coin's appeal lies in its role as a transitional piece. It was among the last of its kind before the decimal reforms of the 1970s rendered the old coinage obsolete, and shillings disappeared from circulation altogether in the early 1990s. The legacy of the 1962 one shilling coin is thus multifaceted. It stands as a work of art, a piece of history, and a cultural artifact all in one. Its presence evokes memories of a Britain that was both proud of its past and uncertain of its future, a Britain on the cusp of entering a modern age. For numismatists and historians alike, examining such a coin is not just about cataloging its dimensions or estimating its value, though these are important. It's about understanding the world in which it was used. What did it mean for a child to receive a shilling as pocket money? How did it feel to pay for a cup of tea with this coin in a foggy London cafe in 1962? These human dimensions, woven together with the coin's physical and historical attributes, imbue it with a lasting significance. The 1962 shilling may be small in size, but it is monumental in meaning, a circular canvas upon which Britain's past is quietly etched. So like and subscribe this video